Just want to give a quick introduction to myself. I'm an known plays VT. Last season for Marvel Rivals 1, I peaked at Grandmaster 1. I almost hit Eternal, but yeah. And most of my hours put onto the game has just been playing Star-Lord. Like, I think I've put on way too many hours than I should. And I've actually had a couple of people on stream ask me to make a guide, so this is going to be a guide for beginners who want to learn how to play Star-Lord and maybe even climb to Grandmaster. So let's get straight into it. So Star-Lord's normal attack elemental guns are two like SMG pistols that have short ammo but are really fast fire rate. Since the elemental guns do have a short range, you want to be up close as possible so you can do the most damage as you can, especially going for the headshots and supports. But another thing to note is that they do actually have pretty decent damage at range, and even though you're not going to be able to one clip someone from mid range, you would definitely be able to catch a couple of people who are trying to run away that are low. So don't be afraid to take shots but you don't think that you can kill someone. Star-Lord's second ability, Stellar Shift, it is a flip, and there's two important things to know about this flip. One, it completely reloads your gun. Star-Lord's second ability is a flip, and there's two important things to know about this flip. One, you are completely invulnerable to any damage when you flip for about 1 second. There's like a certain frame where pretty much ults, anything won't be able to affect you. You're completely invulnerable. So you can dodge something like Doctor Strange's ult, Magneto's ult, Scarlet Witch's ult. But also another thing about the flip is that it automatically reloads your weapon when you do a flip. So if I do this and then that, you can see that my ammo counter, went down low when I just did the flip and it went back to full. And it's pretty good because let's say if you're trying to go for one clip and you need to do a quick flip just to finish off the kill, you can do it like that. Star-Lord's further ability, Rocket Propulsion, is his main movement way. You pretty much can fly in any direction. You can go up, down, left, right, and this is what you're going to be using mostly to like get out of sticky situations, because you can just pretty much like A and D looking left, right, down to, make it really hard for you to get hit. But it's also a really good way to get into like high ground positions. You can force the Hawkeye or Hela off high ground, and it gives you way more ways of escaping certain situations. For example, if I was getting chased here, let's say like there's no way to get out except for this way. If I was getting chased here, I'll just pretty much do that, go on top, boom, and then I'm safe. I'll try to look for a health pack. Star-Lord's third ability, his E, pretty much is a Reaper ult from Overwatch. You pretty much damage everything at the same time all around you. And this is good for building up ults or even pressuring the backline to focus on you. You actually can create space for your tanks in certain situations. It's a very, very strong ability. It's also a good way, let's say, if you don't want to waste your flip, you can press E and it will automatically hit whoever you're fighting. Star-Lord's Q is essentially aimbar, and you have faster reload as well, and you pretty much have infinite flight. But you are slowed down heavily, but you can still do flips in its ultimate. If you team up with Adam Warlock, you get the passive Leader Soul. She can self-res at any time point. And the passive also has a 2-minute cooldown. Because Star-Lord is a 2-star difficulty, there's nothing like crazy that you need to learn with like combos like Spider-Man. But there are certain things that I think a lot of Star-Lords need to know, because I've even seen like Grandmaster Star-Lords not know. But one of them is that you can actually use the E and shift together, which is how you're meant to use it, because if you just use the E, you're still able to get hit quite easily. So using the shift and E is definitely a must, so make sure you have enough shift when you're using your E. The second thing is conserving your shift. A lot of Star-Lords just fly around and not really think about it, but you want to be saving it, especially because you want to be using your E. So instead of always holding it down, you just want to be jumping on high ground. You want to be playing somewhere always on high ground, so when you're able to dive the enemy team, you don't have to use your shift, you can just jump straight down onto them. A mistake I see a lot of Star-Lords do is that they use both of their flips trying to go for a kill, then they just use their shift to escape. You never want to do that. Especially if they're playing something like Hela or Hawkeye where one shot can literally kill you. It's better to use only one flip, and if you don't get the kill and you need to leave, you can use your shift and your flip together, which you can combo as well. Flipping around the corner where you might get hit, but because you flipped, you survive. Also, sensitivity is going to be very important when you're playing Star-Lord, mainly because you're going to be doing a lot of tracking. So for example, I'll show you guys my settings right now. I play on 0.92, 1600 DPI, and this is my tracking sense. If you see, if I click onto, let's say, Hela, for example, I play on 0.55. Because this is a tracking character, you definitely want to be playing on a bit higher sense than you normally would. Mainly just because playing on a higher sense, it just makes tracking way more easier. I'm not saying you have to change your sensitivity, but go to the practice range, and as soon as you exit, you'll see the Luna, and you just want to try track ahead. And you feel like you're over flicking or under flicking, try different senses, especially if they're a little bit higher than you normally would, and see how it makes you feel. But now let's move on to the tips. So for the first tip, it's going to be target prioritization. Now, if you don't know what target prioritization is, it basically means you're going to target the most. And with Star-Lord, because he's a dive character, you don't want to be shooting at tanks. He doesn't do enough damage, and doing it on a tank, especially if they're pocketed by a healer, is not going to be enough. 80% of the time you want to be going for supports or the DPS, but mainly for the supports. So you want to be flanking a lot and taking off angles so you can jump onto the supports and try to get a quick burst on them. But even if you don't get the kill, you can add a ton of pressure in the backline by using your E ability and your shift ability to escape. And depending on what supports, you can actually even end up getting a pick. The whole point of Star-Lord in general is just to do a lot of things very fast and then get out really fast. Because even if Star-Lord has great mobility, he is pretty easy to kill. Onto the second tip I'm going to be giving you guys, and it's you always want to be adding pressure. But what I mean is you want to be taking out high ground, you want to be taking out most of the fights. Because Star-Lord has amazing mobility, you want to be using that mobility to be baiting out the enemy team's abilities, which makes the flow of the game completely change. You can even use my 71 elims in a GM lobby video. You can see that because I added so much pressure even when I wasn't getting picks in the backline, it just made the game 10 times easier for my teammates, even though I was sweating my nuts off and we still almost lost. But also what's extremely underrated, and it's you actually can counter dive pretty easily with Star-Lord. Like I've beaten Iron Fist, I've beaten Spider-Man's, Black Panthers, all in top 500 and extremely high elo lobbies with Star-Lord. Because Star-Lord has one thing that the other dive characters don't have, and it's range. I don't know why, but I do see a lot of Star-Lords don't really shoot a long range for some reason. Like it seems it doesn't really matter, but you can still do pretty good damage no matter what range you are at. If you feel like you can't get a dive in properly because they are all watching you, you can simply spray people at long ranges or even add pressure into the tanks by shooting them in the back to make them and force them to look at you. There's no one way of dealing with a situation, each situation would be completely different. And now we're moving on to tip 4, and it's shoot the traps. The amount of times I've seen a Punisher or Star-Lord not shoot octopuses or the Penny's spider trap is insane. Star-Lord already has insane mobility, so if you're able to get behind them, just shoot the trap and it literally makes your team push 10 times easier. But it's not just the penny traps that you can break, you can also break raccoon reses. Like there's so much you can do as Star-Lord just because you have that mobility. And with that, we've reached the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this guide helps you out. I am thinking about making more of an advanced guide because I feel like there was a lot of things I definitely could have talked more about on this video, but it didn't feel right because this is a beginner video. So if you guys do want an advanced version of this video, please subscribe, drop a like and comment down below if you'd like to see it, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.